You are listening to the FunnelAmplified Podcast, where we talk about your growth intensification through social expansion, content amplification, brand magnification, lead generation, conversion optimization, and pipeline acceleration. If you enjoy the show, please write and post your podcast review today. Now let's talk about growing your business. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited because I have actually a good friend of mine join me today as my guest, and she's awesome. And so I'm going to get out of the way and just introduce her and let her tell a little bit about you. So everybody, this is Amy Franko, who is a strategic sales consultant and the author of The Modern Seller. Amy, thank you so much.
Oh, Bree, thanks so much. And right back at you. I'm so excited about our conversation today.
You know, we've had a lot of conversations.
Yes, we have.
The modern seller around all these challenges that sellers are having, that buyers have power. And then you came out with this awesome book. And of course, I bought one when you sent it out, and I love it. And I wanted you to come and join us. And I also understand that you've got some good news about your blog winning some awards.
Yeah. So I'm excited to announce that the blog on amyfranko.com was awarded from Top Sales World a global top 50 blog.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
All right. Well, we love to celebrate wins around here, so congratulations. And just for clarity, before we get in, it's Amy Franko, FRANKO.com, where you can find all Amy's stuff. All right. Well, Amy, I'm going to hand this off to you because your book goes into 5 pillars for modern sellers. And I want you just to start, just give us kind of an overview of that. And then we'll deep dive a bit into some of these that you think are the ones that are most crucial for sellers as we're coming into the 2020s.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the 2020s. Can you believe it? So
6 months away. That's scary.
It is. It's scary and exciting all at the same time. So maybe where I could start is just a touch of background about myself before we get into a conversation about the book and just how I got to this place today. So for everybody that's listening, I really got my start in what you would consider traditional, quote unquote, B2B selling, enterprise selling. I worked for IBM and I worked for Lenovo. And, I was someone who had a defined product set. I sold technology products, commodity technology products, defined territory product sets. And so that was probably about the first 10 years of my career. Then I took this 180-degree pivot into entrepreneurship, which is how you and I have become connected over the years. But I took this 180-degree pivot into entrepreneurship and started a learning and development company. That has since morphed and changed over the years. And what it looks like today is working with clients on sales strategy, sales training, and then, obviously writing and then keynoting along with that. So I've had this interesting journey of B2B enterprise selling, entrepreneurial selling, lots of different industries and markets, which is what led me to write the book. What I was seeing in my own work, in my own research, and all these different industries were 2 big things. Some expectations of us as sellers that have really changed drastically over the last 5 to 10 years. Our prospects and clients expect so much more sophistication from us. They expect much more, they expect much faster return on their investments with us. Their expectations of us have changed. So that's one thing that I've seen in the marketplace. The other thing that I've seen is the skills that we have as sellers and sales leaders. The everyday selling skills do not go away, but there are some skills behind the skills, which are the 5 dimensions that I get into in the book that I see sellers and sales organizations needing to build so that they are better at the everyday skills of selling. So that was the catalyst for the book right there.
Yeah, and I appreciate your background too, because you've had the experience of door knocking. You've had the experience of, trying to get in and build a conversation that goes into a relationship, that grows into a customer, that grows into a referral source, and being able to see that from the lens of LinkedIn and digital and blogging and apply it into your book.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell me, take for example, in your book, Just give us the summary a little bit of the pillars of the modern seller.
Yeah, absolutely. There are 5 of them. So if you are in a sales role right now or you are a sales leader, these apply to you no matter your experience, no matter your specific role. So there are 5 of them. The modern seller is agile, entrepreneurial, holistic, social, and an ambassador. So all 5 of these really play a role in becoming a modern seller and helping you to be more effective, more efficient in building the right relationships and in meeting and crushing your quota, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you a difficult question because this is going to be along the lines of like asking, somebody which of their kids they love most. But if you had to choose, if you had to choose, and I know you wrote the book a little over a year ago now, and maybe something's changed since you've written it. I don't know, but what are the top 1 or 2 pillars that you think we really should be focused on when it comes to sales reps?
Social might be the obvious one with that one, but I'm going to take us in a little bit of a different direction.
Yeah, and let me interrupt real quick. I did put networks in there, and I didn't mean to. I just mean from a sales standpoint. So my apologies I didn't mean to lead that way.
Oh no, not at all. So I would say the 2 that stand out the most, the one I get asked the most questions about is ambassador, and then the second one is agile. Because agility is a top 5 skill that is going to be hired for in organizations. We talk about 2020. The Center for Creative Leadership has done a number of studies in this space, and agility is a top 5 skill that organizations, regardless of whether they're sales organizations, will be hiring for. So those are probably the 2 that get the most conversation.
Yeah. Got it. So let's start with agility since you brought that up. And then I'm going to ask you why people ask about ambassador. But what do you mean by agile?
Okay, so agility is something that has really been more or less reserved for the sports field up until about the last, let's call it 10 years. Harvard Business Review has this great definition of agility that I really like. And what they call it is rapid, continuous learning from experience, and then being able to apply that to your next experience. So in everyday terms, it is being able to come into a situation where you've been thrown into the deep end of the pool and leaning on your experiences, sometimes disconnected experiences, bringing them together to be able to take the next step or to solve that thing that's in front of you.
Wow. Okay. So how do we apply that in a sales organization then? How does agility matter to a modern seller?
Yeah, so you think about your prospects and clients, they are dealing with this themselves. So all of this that we're talking about today, not only does it apply to us personally as sellers and sales leaders, this is the exact same stuff all of our prospects and clients are dealing with. When our prospect and client organizations are more agile, they are able to better innovate. They are better able to hire and retain the best talent. They are better able to go to market and get their best prospects and clients. So it has this ripple effect, if you will. We build that in ourselves. We can help our prospects and clients build it. And you come back to this whole idea of the value of the relationship and the buyer circle of trust. That's the kind of stuff that gets us in there.
Got it. Wow. Okay. So what I like about it's just so consistent with what we hear, just not even in sales, but just across the board with companies that agility is such an important characteristic.
One of the hallmarks of someone who is agile. So if you're a sales leader, maybe taking a look at your team, or even if you are a seller yourself, someone who is agile, one of the things that they are really great at is being able to take pretty much mountains of information, right? We are getting so much information thrown at us, but being able to take those mountains of information, filter through it, and then figure out what the most important things are to be able to share with prospects and clients, and come up with original ideas that help make their business better. Our prospects and clients are running 1,000,000 miles an hour. If we can do that for them, getting into that buyer's circle, that circle of trust, that's how we get there. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's move into that, because as you're talking about the agility to take a bunch of information, consolidate it, make it tangible, and then feeding it, so to speak, to your prospective customers. That sounds like sales reps are moving into this realm of having to be a thought leader, having to be a value giver in order to stand out from the crowd. Am I hearing that the right way?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is the kind of work that we as sellers need to be doing. And it is work to be able to do that. And that is what translates us into that thought leader. And thought leaders, I see it as this combination of, there's thought and then there's action. I really see it as being able to combine the two to help our prospects and clients move their businesses forward.
Give me an example of that. I mean, I can see there's thought and then there's action, meaning I can have these wonderful, amazing thoughts, but if I don't share them, nobody knows what I know.
Right.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. So if we are, that's exactly it. And then what I would add to that is you are putting thought leadership out there, or you are in front of a prospect or client sharing some of these insights with them, helping them to translate it into something that they could do in their business. It's making the connection between the conversation and what's something tangible I can do to actually put it into play to move my business forward.
Got it. So let's, before we run out of time, you said the other pillar that you actually phrased it as you get asked about the most.
Yep.
I'm curious why you phrased it that way, but you said it was ambassador.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that and the applicableness of it to salespeople.
Yeah, so the reason that I get at it just piques a lot of curiosity. It's that word ambassador. We hear about agility, we hear about social, we hear about entrepreneurial, but that phrase ambassador, it's like, tell me a little bit more about that. What does that actually mean? And I see an ambassador as a bridge. So in a business sense, an ambassador is someone who is a bridge between their prospects and clients, a bridge into their industry, a bridge into their greater community. And an ambassador does two things really well. They are able to bring together their own individual brand, what makes them unique, and combine it with the values and the brand of their company. So they, to use your word, they amplify it. They amplify both, actually. Right. Where does that word come from?
I love that word.
So that's one thing they do really well. The second thing that they do really well is that they are able to take an initial client win. And because they're so focused on lifetime value, they can take that initial client win and turn it into much longer lifetime value and more loyalty, which if you're looking at growing your verticals, meeting and beating quota, you need to be growing the clients that you have. And they're great at that. Yeah, sure.
Right. So I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot. Some of your consulting work, play that out for us. Like, give us a practical example. You don't have to use names or anything, but an agile seller who got a deal closed, looking at this as being an ambassador, and through that role as an ambassador that they took on, not only did they bring the client into the company, but they were able to leverage it for more sale or referral or something extent. Is that totally put you on the spot? I know.
No, not at all. And so if we think about this in the context, a very practical context of any sales organization, when you are looking at and stratifying your clients, if you will, the ones that you are extending your market share within. So very likely you sell multiple products and services. You tend to get in the door with one. And when you are stratifying your clients and looking at the ones that are the best clients, it is moving from one product or service to multiple products and services, and that expands your reach into the organization. So that's a very practical way to look at someone who's an ambassador. They get in the door with one, and then they are able to extend and be able to cross-sell more products and services.
So I'm going to ask this as a question, and it's probably going to sound like a statement, but it sounds like you sell what they want to buy, and you kind of sit there. You don't try and get too wide yet. You let them have a good experience, and then once they're onboarded and they're in the experience, you come back in and you come from a place of consulting, and you try to move them into more services, more products. Does that sound
That's
about
absolutely
right?
one way to do it. And as you were sharing that, it reminds me of one of the things that I think we're all dealing with right now, which is that concept of decision by committee or decision by consensus. While there may ultimately be one person who, they're signing on the dotted line, there is an invisible influence happening around that person. And I think it's corporate executive board that does the research on this. Up to 7 people, 6.8, I think is their number, that can be involved in a decision-making process. So the more complex and the more risk there is in that opportunity, the more people are going to be exerting their influence in and around that set of decision makers. So to come back to your question statement is oftentimes it's meeting someone where they are. It's helping them mitigate their risk. They are taking a reputational and social risk in deciding to do business with us. Let's meet them where they are, really knock it out of the park, and earn the opportunity to continue working with them in cross-selling.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot there. And when I of course, I read your book before, and before, you were coming on here, I started skimming through it, and I realized that as I keep going through the 5 different pillars, it really sounds like sales reps need to think like small business owners in all aspects, not just about revenue generation, but in all aspects of what they do day in and day out. Can you speak into the entrepreneur side of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So when a modern seller is entrepreneurial, and again, thinking about yourself or thinking about your team, if you're leading a team, someone who is entrepreneurial, they don't just see themselves as employees of the organization. They see themselves as the founders and CEOs of their book of business or their territory. And when they think that way, they take different level of ownership and they do things differently. They are really looking at it as a business. Like you said, they're looking at the top line, they're looking at the bottom line, they're looking at their best opportunities, they're looking at their risks. They aren't just looking at what's right in front of them, they're looking at the bigger picture. And I imagine if you have a team of people that act in that way, imagine being able to amplify your current book of business and being able to grow that. So that's really where being an entrepreneur comes from. You look at it like a business, right, and you behave differently.
So I think there's, salespeople are out there listening to this, sales leaders that are listening to this, and I think it begs the question, how? Right? For a sales leader, like, how do you motivate, empower, encourage, whatever other right word might be there, sales to people to think and act
like. Don't I make this sound like rainbows and unicorns the way that I describe it?
I wasn't going to go there, but I'm thinking, gosh, I wish everyone on my team thought like an entrepreneur. But
that bar is super high. We're trying to pole vault over top of it.
I was kind of hoping you had a magic wand back there that I could borrow.
I know, right? I need to find it. I think it's back here in my office underneath this mess. So thinking really practically, if so I'm thinking about some of the folks that I interviewed for the book that think entrepreneurially. So I'm thinking about one person in particular who came into a new role, and it was this kind of white space territory. There were maybe 2 or 3 existing customers in the territory, but the vast majority of it was overrun by competitors because there wasn't someone from this person's company in there building relationships and building the territory. So what this person did, which I thought was brilliant, was kind of set this stake in the ground and set this vision to say, in 3 years' time, I want this to be the territory that my competitors are on the outside looking in. I want to dominate my territory in 3 years' time. So thinking entrepreneurially, this person put a vision into place that said, when I look out 3 years, here's what I want to see. And then was able to back that down into what are the more practical things that I need to do today, next quarter, next year in order to do that. So that is also something that as a sales leader, if you're working with your team, helping your team members set a vision for their territory, and then that becomes the coaching opportunity to help them figure out the right activities.
Yeah, that makes sense. So tapping into good old mentor Stephen Covey with Think with the End in Mind.
Right?
Yeah. So even something as powerful but as simple as that, you get 10, 20, 100 people on a team thinking that way, and all of a sudden you got a machine that's moving in the right
Yep.
direction.
And that also ties back to our earlier conversation about thought leadership and action. I see the vision as somewhat of the thought leadership, and it's the everyday activities that you have to stay motivated to do those everyday activities, because it's one foot in front of the other. That's the action piece of it.
Yeah. There's a whole lot there, and I want to be sensitive. We run our podcast 18 to 22 minutes, and we're coming right up on 22. And that has nothing to do with the fact that you and I love talking together. So, Amy, will you come back another time? Can we finish this conversation? Because you do have two more pillars that I'd love to keep sharing, and even get some of your good stories of success, just practical, of how sales teams are helping sales people implement and become more successful.
Absolutely. I will come back.
I appreciate that. So everybody, I want to say thank you one last time to my guest, Amy Franko, who is the author of the book, The Modern Seller, and she is also a strategic sales consultant, and she can be found at amyfranko, FRANKO.com. Amy, thank you so much. I'm going to put links down in the comments so that everybody knows how to connect with you. So thank you so much, and I'm going to see you on the next episode. Hey, Funnel Amplifiers, thanks for listening. Did you know that we post new videos every day on our YouTube channel? Go to FunnelAmplified.com/YouTube and subscribe so you won't miss out on our new content. Again, it's FunnelAmplified.com/YouTube. Subscribe now, and thanks again.